It's week 2 in the NFL, and this is Into the Weekend with BetDSI, the call we do every week with our hero, Brent, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook. I'm Peter Loshak. You're watching SBR Videos. Brent, before we get into the games for this week, last week, the ugly dogs that you told us were sharp sides all lost, and a lot of the public sides won. The big chatter around the sports betting world was that, quote unquote, the books lost big in week 1 in the NFL. Is that true? The Sharps definitely had a losing week last week, though, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, the Sharps didn't do great, but, I mean, we had some sides that went well for us, of course. I mean, in a case like this, Buffalo was a great result for us just because
right.
The public was all over Indianapolis. And not only with them winning, but when they win the way they did, you're busting up all the teasers. And it's really a lot of teasers that you bust up at that point. I mean, we're talking, it's probably about, our count, as we always talk about, was by game time was probably about 6 or 7 to 1 in favor of Indianapolis. So that definitely helps us out. And the same could be said for St. Louis and Seattle. I mean, that was a really good result for us as well. I mean, St. Louis winning outright there. So, it wasn't a great week for us, but it certainly wasn't that bad at all. We did have a lot of people on the Monday night game who early in the week were on Philadelphia, and it kind of stayed that way. Atlanta won outright, of course, and the same thing. Minnesota was a hot side, and everyone has basically buried San Francisco, but that worked out well for us too. So if you look at it, it really wasn't that bad for us. I mean, even like Tennessee was actually a sharp side, and just the fact that they blew out Tampa Bay, that again helped us as well. So yeah, did we have a great week? No, but was it a terrible week? Not by any means.
All right, the Bills game is the first game that I want to ask you about this week. Pats at Buffalo. We know that the public was all over Indianapolis last week and they got burned. Buffalo got the win, and now the Pats, I'm just assuming anytime there's a competitive spread with the Pats involved, the public is going to like it. So I'm guessing the public is once again fading Buffalo.
Yeah, this is a case just like last week pretty well. I mean, you've got a team like New England who the public is always going to back, and you've got a home dog, Buffalo, who's traditionally not been a very good team. And this is a case, as you mentioned, where my money is it's about 3 to 1 in terms of the wager count, favoring up New England, which is no surprise, and that includes straight bets and parlays, teasers, bundle it all together. It's about 3 to 1 favoring New England, which is no surprise. Now, they're on the road, and that game's down to a pick right now. I did get sharp money on Buffalo. My actual money wagered on the game is pretty much dead even. Actually, slightly favors Buffalo because, again, the sharp guys are usually betting like 5 and 10 when the smaller players are probably betting 5s and dimes. So my money does favor Buffalo. My count way one side in terms of New England. It's a definite public sharp split there. They came in on Buffalo. The line was +1 -05, and also the money line plus even money. So there's even money on that one. So definitely, sharp guys on Buffalo again, a home case. And you look at their defense; they were just fantastic. And Pittsburgh and New England last week opened the things up. Pittsburgh, how good are they? I don't know. We're going to see. And how good is New England? I don't know. We're going to see it too. I mean, they both kind of looked. That game was 28-21 for New England at home, so it wasn't like they blew Pittsburgh away or anything like that. One thing interesting I do want to mention as well in this game is the total, because I do have sharp money on the under 45.5. Oh. I'm guessing a lot of people were impressed with Buffalo's defense last week.
One of my biggest leans this week was going to be on the over on this game. That puts the kibosh on that, Brent. Thanks for that information. And then the second game I want to ask you about, Dallas and Philly. Philly's an interesting situation. You told us all about how Philly took a ton of sharp action on their futures odds before the season. They also took sharp action early in their week 1 spread. And we know that Philly is in general the kind of team this year that the public can easily be attracted to as well. But they did lose straight up and ATS in week 1. And here they're a pretty solid favorite against Dallas. Dallas is also a team that can tend to be public-backed when they're good, which they are this year. So I'm not really sure what I would guess the betting profile for this game is. What can you tell us about it, Brent?
Well, the easiest prediction is to say a ton of volume. And that's definitely the case in this game. New England was one of our highest bet games that we just touched on. This is probably the second highest game, Dallas and Philadelphia. Just a ton of volume already bet on this game. My wager count is almost dead even on both sides, which is fantastic for us. The straights, straight bets, same thing. I'm straight bets. I'm slightly favoring Dallas. I did have some respectable money coming on Dallas when the line was like 5.5. We're down to Philadelphia -4.5 right now, but I did definitely get in some respectable money on Dallas plus the 5.5. My wager count slightly favors them when I look just at straight bets, but my money's dead even, figuring parlays and teasers, everything's bang on even on this game, so it's a real good situation for us. Even the total, really, my money favors the under, but our wager count slightly favors the over, so we'll probably get that back. It's a high total of 55.5. It'll be a question of who can stop who in this game.
Okay, and then two big public teams, Seattle and Green Bay. The public we know was wildly over Green Bay in in week one, and they did cash with that one. Seattle, though, lost outright. Here, Green Bay is just a very modest home favorite. Is the public pounding Green Bay? I'm going to guess probably they are, actually.
They are betting Green Bay, yeah. I mean, it's not an astronomical number in terms of like 4-1 or 3-1, but it is like a solid 2-1 wager count favoring Green Bay. They're at home -3, -115 right now. I do have equal money, and that's because of sharp money that came on Seattle when the line was 3.5. So Seattle +3.5 was a sharp play there for sure. Right now they're +3 -05, but +3.5 -110 is a sharp play on Seattle. Again, my wager count favors Green Bay about 2-1. My money slightly favors Seattle, though. I mean, that's a great game to have on at 5:30 on Sunday night, though. It's going to be a real good one. In terms of the total, just general public money betting the over. Again, Green Bay's involved. They typically go over, so we're sitting at 49.5 right now. Haven't really had to move the number around too much. My count is about 2-1 in terms of the over, but the money's not crazy because sharps aren't involved.
Well, three of the big games this week, we do have sharp action on Buffalo and on Seattle, and then respectable money, but not top sharp money on Dallas. What can you tell us about the rest of the NFL Week 2 card, Brent?
Houston seems to be a popular side as well, Peter, with the sharp guys. Initially, they came in at +4, -05 on Houston. They're at Carolina. Carolina's down to a -3 even money favorite, because I also had money on Houston +3, -05, and the money line +145. So I had three different guys all backing Houston there. My wager count is about 2-1 in favor of Carolina, so it looks like the public is still backing Carolina there, because Houston and their defense looks so awful against Kansas City. Now Kansas City comes off a loss on Thursday night, so it's quite interesting in terms of that respect. So that might be fueling some of the Carolina money by the public. But Houston is definitely a sharp side, and the total as well. The over 38.5 was sharp play. We're up at 39.5 right now. New Orleans, I don't know why they're as big a favorite as they are. Perhaps it could be just as bad as Tampa Bay looked last week, but Tampa Bay was still a sharp play, +10.5, and then +10, -05 as well. I definitely have a count of about 4-1 in favor of New Orleans. It's like people still, they just imagine, I don't know, they still think Drew Brees is going to throw up 50 points every game, and their defense apparently they're thinking is better than it ever was, because they've never had a great defense, I don't think, and now you got Tampa Bay coming in. Yeah, I mean, they looked bad, but there's that old thing, a team's not as good or as bad as their best or worst performance, and Tampa Bay looked absolutely terrible, but that's not stopping the Sharps from taking them +10 and +10.5. Again, it's a definite public sharp split because the public is all over New Orleans there, Peter. St. Louis and Washington is another case where you're looking at a team that might not be as good, being St. Louis, and another team perhaps not being as bad, not being Washington as they were in their week one. I mean, St. Louis, just a massive home win over Seattle, so you can't help but like them there. Well, they are on the, a case of going from a home dog against Seattle to now you're a road favorite in Washington. Now, I'm not saying Washington's, going to be going to the Super Bowl this year, but the Sharps did take Washington +3.5, -115. I have a couple of guys who backed Washington there, and again, no surprise that my wager count, because of how good St. Louis looked and how bad Washington looked, is about 10-1 in terms of St. Louis when you look at the parties and teasers and everything all combined. Looking just at straight bets, it's still about 4-1 in favor of St. Louis, but my money actually favors Washington 2-1. So again, that's a definite sharp public split. Washington, as bad as they look, they are getting support by the Sharps, +3.5, -115. And we'll go down on Monday night. Indianapolis is getting sharp money, which I'm not too happy about. Our wager count there is about 3-1 because the public, as you would expect, is backing Indianapolis at home. They're -7 favorite at home to the Jets now, so that's your Monday night game. But -6 and -6.5, -05 were both sharp plays on Indianapolis. So it's one of those cases where I'm hoping that some sharp money is going to come back from the Jets, but I'm just not holding my breath for it, because I think the public's definitely going to pound Indianapolis. Anything 7 or anything around 7, they're going to lay it. 7.5 might keep them off, but it might not. You never know.
Awesome information as always, Brent. A sharp public split in Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and the Sharps biting on Indianapolis as a big Monday night favorite. Brent from BetDSI, thanks so much. Talk to you again next week.